Hello you guys, and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah and thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to talk a little bit about what led me to live a more cluttered life in the first place. Because if you've watched this channel for a while, you know I talk a lot about ways to simplify, and I share where I'm at along my journey to declutter and live a more minimalist life. However, what were the habits that got me to that place in the first place where I had way too much stuff? In my life, I can look back and really see my sophomore year of college where this all began. I don't think that me holding on to much stuff had anything really to do growing up as a child. I didn't really exhibit any signs of that. It wasn't really till I was off on my own in college, and specifically my sophomore year of college where this began. And it, I think, got worse my sophomore year and junior year of college. And then I think I started realizing there was a problem my senior year of college, but I hadn't started taking any steps to deal with it. So that's why I'm going to be sharing a little bit today. I think one of the key factors that led to me to start holding on to more stuff was that I became an RA, or resident advisor, my sophomore year of college. And with this is basically where you are kind of, I don't want to say responsible for, but you're helping out a group of about 60 students, at least in my case, freshman students at college, helping them have a positive transition. And I think this job was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I loved it. I built a lot of really meaningful relationships. So from that perspective, it was really positive. However, when you are an RA, there are a lot of demands on you, which makes your schedule very busy, as well as you have a lot of different responsibilities that all pretty much require stuff. And with that, you also have your own room. Normally, at least in the United States, you have a roommate when you're in college, like in a traditional dorm setup. But when you're an RA, you have your own room. So you have double the space than normal college students would. So I think I also used that space to start holding on to more things. So not only did I have more space with which I could fill up stuff, but because I was living on kind of a more frantic schedule, I started getting less sleep. I was going to bed around 3 a.m. every night. This was the first year I ever did that, and I continued that for a while. I also was having a lot of new friendships and a relationship as well. Those all took time. I was doing a lot of classes, as I did every semester of college, and so it was just too much. In addition to this busyness and extra space, I was also being very frugal. And while I think being frugal can be an element of minimalist living, I was sort of going to the extreme on it and trying to spend as little money as possible. And oftentimes what happens when you're trying to save money, you're willing to take things that are free, even if you don't actually need them. And so I was always trying to maximize the value I was getting financially to essentially, I guess, save money in the future. So I used my extra space. I would take on more things. If someone said they didn't want something anymore, I would take it. I was also even part of the sustainability living learning community that was developed. It developed technically my junior year, but the whole goal was to live in a more environmentally friendly lifestyle. And one way to do that is to waste less or throw away less. So I thought, well, if this is someone else's trash, maybe I can take it on and repurpose it into something else, which in theory sounds great. When you're having too much stuff, not as good of an idea. I also was very lucky because as an RA, your expenses are paid for, your living expenses, and they even gave us food vouchers. And I would actually make sure, even if I didn't need extra food there, I would make sure to spend every dollar so I never let a dollar go to waste. So these are definitely some unhealthy spending practices. On the bright side, I did really usually only spend $10 to $15 a month on just living expenses, so that's pretty extreme. That might be if I went out to eat once or twice during the month, but again, I was very much on this frugal lifestyle. Connecting back to that environmental perspective, I was also, trying to waste as little as possible for myself. As an RA, one of the things that you do is hang up a lot of different signs, posters, bulletin boards, all of that. And just because I was a little crazy, normally when a flyer or a poster was no longer valid, you'd pull it off and you'd recycle it. But no, I kept these, and I had drawers that were under my bed, and I would store all of those papers under the bed. That's insane, but I did that. And so I ended up reusing a lot of the papers, but there were too many posters that I couldn't keep up with in using up. So when I was moving out at the end of the year, I had 2 drawers full of all this different paper. And a normal person would have probably just said, okay, well, I'm gonna recycle it at this point. But no, I knew I was coming back next year, and I saved them in a stash of like we call it the hall government room, but basically it was where we assembled a lot of our bulletin boards and stuff. I saved them there over the summer, so when I came back the next year, I could use them. That's a problem. And so that same idea of not wanting to waste as much led me to hoard more stuff that I really didn't need. Junior year, the same kind of stuff continued, except that my schedule got crazier. I think it's just insane to look back and see how many classes I was in. Your average college student maybe takes about 5 classes at a time, maybe 4 to 6. I was in 8 classes. This is also the year I met Jake, which was awesome, but that also meant that we were trying to spend every piece of time together we could and see each other like every day. So that also took a lot of time out of the schedule, and I really didn't have time to, catch up on things or really focus on my space. It just wasn't really a possibility for me at that time, or I didn't choose to make it a possibility. And then I think fast forward then to my senior year of college, so when I'm about 22 years old, and I start to realize this is a problem when I move out of being an RA. I did that first semester, but then I was student teaching my second semester, and so it's not really possible to be an RA and a student teacher. So I did at least step back a little bit there, but I first kind of realized that this was all too much when I had, in the senior year apartment, I subleased from a friend. It was my own room and a walk-in closet and my own bathroom, and yet there was stuff everywhere. The semester I was there, the walk-in closet was packed, and I had stuff around the border of the whole room. Even where it should be an open space, I had stuff there. And so that was kind of like clear to me, wow, I have this own room. This is my first time like on my own, living in my own room that's not like in a dorm room. And here I am with stuff along every single border of the room. So that's when I started to realize it was a problem. And of course then at the end of that year, Jake and I ended up getting married, and we combined our stuff and then moved into our apartment together back in Western Illinois, which is where a lot of the videos on my channel started from. So if you've been watching for a long time, you know which space it was, and it was just too much. So that's kind of my story about how this all started, how I ended up getting so much clutter. None of this is super flattering information to share about myself, but I know that it's something that people don't really talk about as much, like why they were holding on to that clutter in the first place. So I'm hopeful that, if I'm sharing this information, maybe that will encourage others to share. While I know some of these reasons I started collecting clutter are kind of out there, maybe some of you can relate to different periods of your life where you feel like you took on more stuff than you actually needed. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. If you find yourself struggling with the clutter in your life, please let me know in the comments below if you've got any questions or things that you need help with. I would love to be able to support you on your journey. And if you'd like to watch any other minimalist related videos, you can actually click over here. And if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, you can do so up here. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.